Hello and welcome to Fresh Perspectives. My name is Gail, and I'm delighted today to welcome back Michael Oliva, who has written some books. Thank you for appearing again on Fresh Perspectives.
It's great to be back.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear it. Now, for those of you in the viewing audience, if you saw his first episode that he did with me, you know that he has written some books. And the first one, the one that we talked about last time, was called The Penitent Affair, how a German SS guard at Auschwitz became a Hasidic rabbi in America. But today we are talking about a sequel that he wrote, Confessions of Our Father, the Nazi Rabbi. And there are a couple of really interesting books, I do have to tell you, and I highly recommend them. Now, the main character in The Penitent Affair actually dies near the end of that book. Michael, why did you decide to write a sequel to that book? It seems to be all about the drama that his family goes through after he passes away.
The answer to that is the struggle of the family continues. So it just seemed appropriate to continue to tell the story.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think you'd want to write a third one about the family because the family gets so darn big, like way over 100 people. You wouldn't be able to keep them straight, I think. Do you want to just give a little bit of basic info to remind them about the first book?
So the first book was about Peter Otto Fehr, who was a German SS guard stationed at Auschwitz and Birkenau. And he's there from March 1943 to January 1945. And he is involved in selections. He has his own capo group who, at night, they go around the camp and they make selections of so-called unfit prisoners. And in January 1945, as the Red Army is coming through coming near Auschwitz, he escapes and deserts the SS, flees to Trieste, makes a new identity for himself, and then flees to America under a Jewish identity. And then, of course, later on repents, converts to Judaism, becomes a Hasidic rabbi in America, and goes to live the rest of his life as a wonderful Hasidic pious Jew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he seemed to really like it here once he got here, didn't he? And got some bad habits going, like drinking a lot of pop, you know,
yes,
which ruined his health at one time in the book. Okay, well, let's go to how the sequel book starts. Was the first of it basically when Leah was helping her mother with some house cleaning? You want to tell the viewing audience what happened while she was cleaning her parents' bedroom?
So on June 12th, 2001, Moira is, of course, asleep at night. She has a dream about her husband, and then she later wakes up at very, very early, goes back to sleep, and then her third daughter, Leah, comes to the house, and she helps clean the house. And she's in the master bedroom, and then on the top left dresser drawer, she finds her father's journal. And then she takes it to her mother. Her mother sees it. They both see that it's handwritten in German, which is, of course, Peter's, Israel's native language. So they sit down in the dining room to read it. They read the very first passage, which was dated June 14th, 1948, which was the day the State of Israel was declared. So they read that, and then they They read it, and then Moira tells Leia, please keep this a secret because this could very well, of course, divide the family. With this finding.
Well, then we learn shortly after that nobody in the family can keep their mouth shut.
No.
Moira didn't want it spread around, but Leia is how her
Yeah,
name is?
Leia.
Leia mentions it to one of her other sisters, and then all of the women in the family start meeting. What was it, once a week or something?
It was, yes, it was starting once Monday nights, every Monday night, and then it grew from 2 days and then later on 3 nights a week.
Okay. So all of the family women, Moira and her daughters, anyways, is how it starts out, that they meet. And they do this in what they call the red tent.
Yes.
You want to explain this to the viewing audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So the red tent is, one, it's a real thing. Two, it's a metaphor. It's a real metaphor, I should say. That far back in ancient times, in the early Israelites, a lot of the women would have a red tent that was just for themselves. So that would be where women would give birth, of course, where they would just to talk about anything feminine related, basically. So that was considered a sacred place. So men were not allowed to be within that tent. So, and it was just, of course, women only. It was just mothers, daughters, grandmothers, granddaughters, for all the women. So, and Moira thought that was a great activity for them a great environment, I should say, a great environment to just sit down, read the journal, and see what their father and her husband actually thought of, and what he was going through.
And the red tent was made out of the dining room where Moira hung curtains and things all the way around the room. So it would be like an actual red tent.
So it was just the dining room that would have either just red blankets or curtains, but mostly it was just red curtains to simulate a tent. And then she would have lit candles, almost that resemble Christmas lights, like small little Christmas lights for lighting. And then they would have candles, or even just little LED candle lights too that mimicked actual candles. So.
But anyway, there's always somebody. I think the next person who spilled the beans was. What was the name of the one? That would be one of the 4 girls?
Yes, it was the youngest daughter, Rachel.
Rachel spilled the beans to one of the boys, who didn't keep his mouth shut. So it spread through all of the men. So they figured they had the right to read it also, except that they came up with a plot. I think it was Levi, wasn't it, that came up with the idea? Okay, you want to tell the viewing audience what his plot was? So
in the book, it's called The Plot of 4. So it's Levi, Issachar, Naphtali, and Benjamin. So those are the 4 boys that plot this plan to steal the journal, since their mother will not allow them at that time to read the journal, because 1, there's only 1 of them, and 2, it's Israel's journal is her property. So, and in Jewish families, what the father's worldly goods are the wives. So, and there's a saying in Jewish families: "You inherit what I give you," meaning the mother gives everything to the children. So, and so since they can't, they make this plot, and eventually, when they are finally able to read the book, the boys, that is, all 7 boys are able to read the book, and the 4 boys steal, for the 4 sons steal the
Okay,
the
there's
journal.
only 4 boys that think stealing it is
Yeah.
a good idea. The other 3 are innocent then?
Yes.
Okay. So they are told, okay, you know, since you know about it, you know, you can come and read with us. And Levi, they've already plotted it out. They even had a couple of getaway cars lined up. Okay, you want to talk about that?
Well, of course, this is all Levi's plan, and of course, Levi is Levi, if at least the saying is in the family. So, and then once once the journal gets stolen, then the journal gets taken off to a German professor in Manhattan, who then unfortunately sends it to the Jewish Museum in Battery Park, also in Manhattan as well. That's just a neighborhood. But then they see that, oh, this is Peter Otto Fair's journal, so then they send it off to the FBI. So to be examined for any possible criminal evidence.
And Levi didn't realize all of this was going to happen. So basically, he's lost it, and it eventually makes its way to the FBI and like that. It backfired. His idea definitely backfired. But somebody was going to make copies of it for the rest of the family. But, and it outraged Moira, his mother. She was so mad she could hardly contain herself. So this led to a whole can of worms. And well, anyway, there's all this drama all the way around. By this time, all of the kids have been married and had children of their own. Now, I wanted to ask, how did you find out the pronunciations of the different names? Because I have seen books of names. You know, you can get them when you're getting ready to pick out, you're expecting a baby and you want to pick out a name. But they only seem to just have the name and what the meaning of it. But there usually isn't the pronunciation there. How did you find out the actual pronunciations? Because I always thought of the name Levi was Levi, not Levi. How did you find these pronunciations?
For Levi, that came from a documentary. It was from Mysteries of the Bible, and they were talking about Jacob's ladder, and how the 12 tribes of Israel came about. So, and then one of the main archaeologists, his name was Walthau, I believe, and he's an Israeli archaeologist, and he mentioned the name Levi and not Levi. So I'm just going, okay, so that's the biblical pronunciation then, and then it's not Rachel, it's actually Raquel.
Raquel?
Raquel actually. Oh. But I just use the regular American pronunciation, which is Rachel, and so and then for the biblical Leah in the Bible, that is actually how it's supposed to be pronounced. Some people say it Leah, which that's more Western or American pronunciation. Which and then I turned to documentaries, of course. And also to people who actually had those names, and how do you pronounce, and I just ask them casually, how do you pronounce it? And so your name, that is. And I would just go with that, and sometimes I would go with the biblical pronunciation, then others I would just use the normal pronunciations.
My name, Gail, is part of the name of the oldest daughter, Abigail. So And I've known various different people named Abigail, so I was pretty sure that was how that should be pronounced. The other one another one of the names in the book, I thought it was Shyman when I first was reading the book after he was born. But I noticed when I went to the talk that you gave at the library in Westfield, you were pronouncing his name Shimon. How did you figure that one?
That one is biblical, so
That
I just
one
went
is-
with it. So a lot of Hasidic families, they will give their boys and daughters names, and then they will pronounce them biblically, like as in like the biblical pronunciations of their names. And sometimes they'll use modern pronunciations, but most of the time they'll just use the biblical pronunciations.
Okay,
So
okay.
in order to help stay pious, stay religious, to stay Hasidic.
Yeah, I've met people, I've met women by the name of Simone, and that's what I would think of every time I would be reading about Shimon in your books.
Oh.
So anyways, I was wondering about that. And then, okay, so the book is stolen and on, and shall we go to the dreams that, should we go to the dreams
can.
that Levi had? After he realized he was in trouble with his family, he goes and hides out somewhere, goes missing,
Yep.
and he's got some sort of a place where he sleeps. And on a couple of different nights, he has a dream about his father where he's sleeping in his own bed in the home that he grew up in, is what he's dreaming, and he gets up and he finds his dad in the living room, I think it is. And you know, the funny thing about this is sometimes I will have dreams where somebody that I knew really well and was good friends with, or was a relative or something, will show up in my dreams to let me know that they're okay where they are on the other side. And those dreams that you describe in Confessions of Our Father, it just makes me think of those things. And any medium, like from Lilydale or anything like that, will tell you that those kinds of dreams are actual visitations on the part of the spirits of those people. And so I'd like you to talk about that. I mean, that was a really interesting part of the book.
So the origin, or at least the inspiration for those two dreams actually come from my father, actually. He had two dreams of his older brother, Vincent, who passed away in 1965. And many years later, he had two dreams, one at one time and then another for years later. So the story he told me about that helped inspire this part. And for Levi, though, it's he's in his hideout in Manhattan. He's hiding away from his family. Of course, he's very, very down, incredibly down, and he, of course, cannot sleep. But then eventually he goes into a deep sleep, and then wakes, of course, in his dream, wakes up in his bedroom with all of his brothers, and then heads down to the living room where he sees his father, and then he goes down and he talks with them. And the number one question on Levi's mind is, Papa, why did you do it? Meaning, why did you convert, and also why did he do what he did? And basically, the short answer is to rebuild the Jewish nation. So it was to rebuild everything, to help repair what he had done, and to bring up his family into the Jewish faith, basically, and to bring up all of his children, his grandchildren, teaching them the sacred scriptures, and having them be Jewish. So. And then in the second time, then the second one, he has the same dream as well, but only just slightly different. And they go into the family room, into the dining room, and then Israel is reading the Torah, and then finally, this is where the real answers all start coming in. So, Israel reiterates everything that he had done, if he had repented, that he was tormented by his sins, by his crimes. He wanted to repent. He wanted to make up for what the damage he caused, and he did so by bringing up an entire Jewish family, and of course multiple generations, really. So it was 258 descendants by the time he passed. So, and then also Levi just wants to know, does his father forgive him? And then the father asks, do you forgive yourself, Levi? So, because forgiveness, there's a chain of command, really, a chain, so to speak. You have to forgive yourself, then others can forgive you, then God can forgive you. So when everyone forgives each other, then all is forgiven. So, and then both dreams end with a blinding light, too. So it's just kind of like a little, sort of small cliche, though. But then after the second dream, he goes back, as his father commands, he goes back to the family where he's supposed to be. But then also in the dream as well, he talked about his older brother's birth, which had complications. But then when Levi was born, when he was born, he and his mother just wanted to name name him Levi, which means together. So they just knew that in some way, for this man, their son is going to either keep the family together or bring the family together, or in this case, bring the family back together.
So he kind of repents. Levi kind of repents for what he's done, and he confesses to the rest of the family what he's done, and then of course he's struggling to get the journal back, and everything comes to a dead end for quite a while there, but he definitely wants to be a better person after that point in time when he realizes how stupid he was, basically. So anyways, somebody from Israel's past shows up at some point in the book. It was, she appeared near the beginning of your first book, The Penitent Affair, as a little girl. And I think that the woman had spit in Peter Otto Fair's face, and then he shoots her with a gun and kills her. And she, the little girl, looks him in the eye. And here she is that little girl, as an elderly lady in the second book, where she shows up and starts telling, she shows up at Moira's house and starts talking about what she had witnessed him do and so forth. And although I only remember that one visit, I think it's kind of like she wasn't in the story anymore. She was just there long enough to let them know what happened to her mother. But did you want to say anything about her?
Yeah, so in the book, her name is Frau Shamir. Her maiden name was unknown, though, but then later on she moves to Israel and gets married. So she survives the Holocaust, gets married, moves to Israel, gets married, and then later on she researches high and low, who was responsible for the death of her mother. Of course, her father was a soldier in the Polish army. He gets killed. He was a blacksmith, and they were a Jewish family living in Przebieńce. It's a small town that's near the Łódź, a city in Poland, and she and her mother, they get put in the ghetto there, and then later on they go to Łódź, to the ghetto there where Peter at the time is stationed. And so then, and in January of 1942, the first deportations start happening. Of course, she and her mother are among those to be deported. And her mother, of course, spits in Peter's face. Of course, that wasn't tolerated under any circumstance. So therefore, of course, long story short, he kills her mother and the man behind her, because of the trajectory of the projectile. And then, of course, she's 5-year-old child. She looks at her mother's killer, and then she said, looks at with her eyes, "I will remember you. I will look for you." And then. Later on, she doesn't go to Treblinka, which would have been the case, really, but either the train got derailed, got rerouted, or something. But she ends up going to a camp. She survives the camp, and then, of course, later on, she researches. She finds out who is responsible. Then she immediately goes straight to Moira's house, of course, and then she tells the whole family her family story, and she wanted to meet basically Peter himself, but of course he was passed by that time. But then she did find out that hey, he has a very extended family, so I'll meet them. But she did not expect a Jewish family. She did not. She was expecting a probably German-American, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, family living in New York City. She did not expect a huge, wonderful, pious Hasidic family as his descendants. That was a total shock to her, as indeed, of course, Shimon later talks to her as well in front of everyone, and he asks her, "Is this what you expected?" And she said, "No, I would have expected secular Jews at best, not all of, not from being basically ultra Orthodox."
So she was so surprised
Yes.
when she met the family.
Very
Before
much so.
she made the trip over, she did not know this. She did not know that he had transitioned to become Jewish.
All that was known was was his name, and then later on. But of course, she later found out who he really became through the newspaper, of course, newspapers, and also the media as well. Because when someone who does something like this for this type of story, that will get around quick. So it made its way to Israel, to Yad Vashem, and later on, if she finds out through Yad Vashem that Peter Otto Fair did convert to Judaism, and then she later on went to New York City, to Borough Park, to find the family. So.
Wow. Yeah. That would have been hard to do, yeah, but I mean, even just figuring out that he'd gone to America, she must have searched really hard.
But the real truth didn't happen. It didn't come about till after his death, until after his passing. And then that's when the real information started coming in. So then, once she found out, then she was able to really.
Yeah. Oh, it was after Israel had confessed to Moira just a few minutes before he died, that he was Peter Otto Fair, who, which came as quite a shock to her, finding out she'd been married for many years to a Nazi, basically. So. But then I'm thinking, at some point, well, let's see, I'm a little bit mixed up here. There was one point where they got the journal back, I think, and went to the Kobover Rebbe at the time to see if they could get back in with their synagogue again. Yeah. You want to say something about that?
Sure. So from how they get the journal back was, of course, it was Neil Weitzman himself, actually. Of course, he was the former U.S. attorney responsible for finding former Nazi war criminals who were living in America and arrest and put them on trial. But of course, he never got fair, of course. But then when he heard about what was going on, he was able to contact the standing U.S. attorney, the current U.S. attorney, and pull some strings to get the journal back.
They had first gone to a judge for a hearing about trying to get it back.
Yes.
And they were first denied, right?
It was, here's what actually happened. So what the Judge Cabot had actually said was, if criminal evidence was found, it was to be kept by the FBI for analysis. If no criminal evidence was found in the journal, it was to be returned immediately. So it really was it was to be kept with exceptions, or it was to be returned with exceptions. So it kind of was sort of the middle ground, really. But of course, later on, it was expedited. The research was expedited, and they found no criminal evidence at all. It was just all the information that was found in the journal was just a Jewish man, a German Jewish man, providing for his family and recording his Jewish journey through the rest of his life.
So Weissman shows up. They keep getting unexpected guests, this family does. Weissman shows up unexpectedly at their house one night, and by that time he's gotten very old himself. And they hear the doorbell ring, or was it knocking? It was
the doorbell, yeah.
It was the doorbell. And so Shimon says, I wonder who that could be, and goes to the door and opens it up. And then you want to mention what happened once he got inside the house?
Well, long story short, he takes his briefcase, pulls grabs the journal, and says, I believe this belongs to you, to Moira.
And it was the actual journal. He'd somehow managed to get it back for them and actually brought it to them in person. And they wind up inviting him to stay and have supper with them.
Yeah, because Weitzman is Jewish himself. He's not a religious Jew, but if he is a secular, but he's a Jew no matter what. So he was absolutely welcome to them, and they did ask him to stay. And then, of course, also, as another surprise, Levi comes down from the staircase and gives a wonderful short speech to the family and to Weitzman as well, that we are going to continue to be pious Hasidic Jews. And that also marked the climax of Levi's self-transformation too. That's led to that is currently going on in that part of the story too.
So both Levi and his father in the book, they both change from being people who are not nice to realizing that what they really should be doing is being a nice person. Basically, you said that you wrote the books because you wanted to show people that they can, a person who's always done only bad things can change and start being a good person.
That's the central message of the entire story, both books. Anyone can change, so regardless of the situation they're in.
Well, you there I go with again. I've changed a lot over the course of my lifetime, and I'm not saying I was a bad person, but I just changed. And I imagine you have also.
Yeah, mightily.
So let's see. And then was it, okay, now about the Jewish holidays, they have a name for their holiday that's close to Christmas time?
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah, right, right. So, and then there's Passover.
Yes, that is the next.
That
the
comes
next one
around
over.
about Easter time,
Yes,
doesn't it?
It does.
So, and there's a bunch of others. Are there?
There's
any
30. There's 30 holidays in the Jewish calendar. Yes.
What are some of the other?
For Passover, which is what they call Pesach. Hanukkah, of course, the one that we know. That's the Festival of Lights. There's Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year. That is actually coming up in a few days, actually. And then
good.
the next one, 9 days after that, is the holiest holiday in the Jewish calendar. That's Yom Kippur. That's the Day of Atonement. And then after that one is Sukkot, or Sukkot. That's the Jewish Harvest Festival. And then in June time, it's Shavuot, which is the Feast of Weeks, as it's known as. That's when the Ten Commandments were revealed to Moses from God. So, and that's celebrating that. And then there's many others too. So.
Yeah, I was just wondering. It's pretty interesting. I've met several Jewish people and become friends with them just from participating in certain activities at the Chautauqua Institution during the summer months. I met this one Jewish boy when he was 12 years old, and he was participating in this craft market. He and the next youngest child, a sister, that they were selling craft items that they made at this craft market, and I would get to ask them things about why they wear a yarmulke on their heads, and he said it was so that they would always remember that God is above them. And I remember one time, and this was quite amusing actually, he was kind of like inviting me to Shabbos, a Shabbos dinner.
Shabbat, yes. That's their day of rest. And so for what happens in a Jewish household where they would spend Friday afternoon and evening preparing for the Sabbath. The Sabbath is a Friday night to Saturday night where that's their time of rest, where they don't really do anything related to work, really. So it's no turning on lights. It's they do cook as well, but it's not cooking during the Sabbath, though. So you can't cook during that time. So you cook everything beforehand, and there's just no work at all. There's no labor of any kind. So.
Well, he was inviting me to this Shabbos dinner that was going to be, I think, on Saturday. And he's telling me all about it. He's giving me his father's phone number. His father, this particular boy, his father is the rabbi that runs the Jewish Center at the Chautauqua Institution. So he's giving me his father's phone number so I can call to say I'm coming and everything. And, he's making it sound, well, you can get a cheap pass when you come in through the gate, so it wouldn't be the full amount that people would be paying on that Saturday to come in. And, just by telling them you were coming to the Shabbos dinner. And he's telling me how wonderful it is and everything. And I'm thinking I'm being invited to something where I can bring a dish to pass. Apparently, and I'm going, oh yeah, that sounds like fun. I'd like to come and like that. And after he gets through with this whole spiel, he goes, and it costs $36 a person. And I said, Mendel, $36 has to buy more than one meal for me. Of course, maybe it wouldn't anymore now now with inflation, but back in those days, and it just amused me that all of a sudden he's talking about this certain amount of money, you know. So basically, you're paying for your dinner, but it was just a cute little amusing story. Well, I wound up not going to it anyways, but but now this little boy that I met when he was 12 years old, he's in his 20s now, and is married and has a little daughter, and he's a rabbi. So so it's been very, very interesting having gotten to know him, you know, and everything. So I just thought I'd throw that in there. It doesn't really have anything to do with your book, does it? But
it's relatable.
but it was cute. So anyways, we get to be where, okay, it's Hanukkah, apparently, and they give each other gifts at Hanukkah. Do they give each other a gift every day for a certain amount of days?
For the 8 days, yes.
For 8 days?
Yes, and so for all the children get gifts. It could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be whatever the family can afford. So, but everyone gets at least 1 for each of the 8 days. So you get 8 gifts total. So that's not bad.
And Moira has her oldest daughter, Abigail, at some point in time at one of these get-togethers. She requests that Abigail come, I think it's up to the master bedroom, with her for her gift for the day. And what is that gift, Michael?
The journal.
The journal, because she's the oldest child.
She is, yeah.
I know references keep being made about Abigail throughout the second book, or I think in the first book too at times, where a lot of the others always believed, the other siblings always believed that she was her father's favorite child.
So it kind of, at least that's what I got from it too. And then also sometimes it would go back and forth with, you know, who's dad's favorite, who's mom's favorite. I mean, Moira's favorite was obviously Shimon, so there's no question there. And then most of the time for Israel it would be Abigail, and then sometimes it would be Leah. So, but for the most part, it was Abigail. She was his favorite. She was his firstborn, his pride and joy.
She had his blonde hair and blue eyes.
Very much so. She was a carbon copy of her Aunt Elaine. It reminded she reminded him of his past, of the good aspects of his past. So of the family back home in Frankfurt. So she was his pride and joy, and Moira felt appropriately that she should be the one to have it. So.
Well, she knew she wasn't going to live forever, so she might as well get it passed down, and copies of the journal had been made for all of the other family members. Abigail didn't really want to take it, the original journal.
Yes, itself.
First, she just felt it should stay with her mother, but there was always, I think that there was a certain amount of jealousy, the way I perceived the book, of Abigail being the favorite of her father's children.
Well, I mean, with a large family, when a parent has a favorite, I mean, no matter what, when two parents have more than one child, there is a favorite. They don't want to mention it. They don't want to, express it, but there always is. They just can't help it. So with 11 siblings, yes, it's going to happen. So, and of course, the sons, they knew that they had great, struggles with their father, but they also had great moments too. So, if one would ask, which of the sons was Israel's favorite? Well, we really don't know. So he would never mention that. So, but at least in action, Abigail, at least we believe, is to be his favorite.
Well, which one of the boys was it now where the birth was difficult?
That was Shimon.
Shimon?
Yeah, that was in 1959.
1959. And so that must mean, if I'm remembering correctly from reading the book, that he always felt like he didn't have a really good relationship with his dad. Was it? Because he was that the one where Israel couldn't be there for the birth?
That was Issachar.
Issachar.
Yes.
Okay, so Issachar was the one that felt that maybe he wasn't loved.
Yeah. For Israel, he was in his fugue state, like in the 1960s, because Issachar was born in 1960. Let's see when. So. He was born in 64, so
64.
That was right with and when Israel was in the worst time of his life. And so that was when the Auschwitz trials were happening. He was there for Leah's birth, Issachar's older sister, but then he wasn't able to be there because he was psychologically in a fugue state. He could not get out of bed. He could not do anything for himself.
Because he was upset because he thought he was
going to be caught.
Yeah,
because even Simon Wiesenthal himself, he had a close encounter with Israel right in the streets of Borough Park. One cold day.
He actually came face to face.
No, Wiesenthal. He was Weitzman didn't come till much later. This was in the 1960s.
Okay.
And Wiesenthal, he was looking around for a lead, possibly looking for Peter Autofair, but once Mengele, Josef Mengele, known to the people of Auschwitz as the Angel of Death, once they found out he was in Argentina, everyone wanted him. Everyone, the German government, the Americans, New Zealanders, everybody wanted Mengele, so to catch Mengele, that is, and especially the Israelis. The Israelis wanted him, so, and they just gunned back to Argentina to go get Mengele, but of course he escapes to Paraguay and then later on to Brazil, where he lived out the rest of his life. When he died in 1979. That's Mengele, that is.
Okay, was he a real person that you included in the book?
Yes, Simon Wiesenthal, yes. Wiesenthal, Mengele, they're all real people, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, so anyways, it's like I said, your books should be made into a movie, probably 2 movies. Since you have the sequel book, you could have The Penitent Affair be one movie and then have it run up to Confessions of Our Father, the Nazi Rabbi, have a sequel movie. I wouldn't take it any farther than that, though, because the family just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Let's see, I'm trying to think of some other interesting things. Oh, they did have a chapter where they had the Kobover Rebbe come for dinner when they were trying to get included back into the synagogue. And it was a lot of hard work. The whole family pitched in to clean Moira's house and everything. And, well, he wanted to read the journal before he would be willing to let them come back. Which makes sense. I think, wasn't it, they still hadn't gotten it back yet?
They did, and they did get it back, but it was only recently. So
Yeah, it wasn't before the Kobover Rebbe came to
the
him.
Rebbe came after, is what happened.
After they got the, oh, okay. So we got that back, and he came over, and he wanted to read it. And I remember at one point in the book where he was, where that rabbi was asking to read it, and I think that Moira told him we just recently got it back, and he wanted to know, what do you mean? So then she had to explain the story about what Levi did, and he goes, oh, Levi. He always was a problem, wasn't he? So so he had quite a reputation,
Yes.
Levi did. And I was so happy that the book has a happy ending, where they, do you want to say something about the ceremony that they had at the synagogue when they were getting reinstated?
Sure. And what happened was the Rebbe did come to the house every Monday, afternoon or evening, and he would just read for about an hour or 2 hours. But then once the copies of the journal started coming, he just took one copy and then he would just read it in his office. And then he would just look through it, and of course he found the very same things the FBI found, which was no criminal evidence at all. It was just a German Jewish convert that was raising his family in the best way he could, and he came to the conclusion that his crimes were on him and not on the family. So, and it was pointless, really, to just keep on punishing the family for the father's crimes.
Especially since the family never knew about his crimes until after he passed away.
And so then once that happened, then the Kobover Rebbe, he brought in the whole of the Bnei Israel family into the synagogue, where of course they all went to years before. And after 5 years of excommunication, they're finally brought back into the tent, so to speak. So they're brought back into the movement, and that they should be accepted as a family. So, and the book ends there.
Would you like to talk about, you at the end of your books, you have something about the author's viewpoint?
Last notes, yes.
Last notes, yes.
So in those notes, I just say, I declare that please do not, this is paraphrasing that is, so please do not take the contents of this book as actual fact of Hasidic families, because pretty much no Hasidic family would really have this happen to them. But then again, it could possibly happen too, because every family has problems, no matter what. And whether that's an atheist family or an ultra-religious family. So, but it's to mention that the Hasidim, they are the most wonderful, amazing people you'll ever meet. They're the kindest people you could ever meet, but they're just very, very insular. And so please don't think ill of them at all. And that's really it.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's see, a moment ago I had something on my mind that oh gosh, I lost my train of thought, but we've got like 3.5 minutes left for you to...
oh, I got loads.
Okay, go ahead and talk.
So, but yeah, I just would love to talk about the children who don't get a lot of airtime, or written time, so to speak. And Definitely the ones that don't are David, Solomon. Those are the let's see, fifth and sixth children, and they're the third and fourth sons. So. And actually, I just want to start from top to bottom, actually. So Abigail, of course, is the oldest. He's, the father's pride and joy, and carbon copy of her aunt, basically. And then Miriam, she's the second oldest. She's very much a carbon copy of her mother. And so she's very dutiful, very responsible, and kind of bossy to her younger siblings. So Shimon, of course, is the oldest. And despite his birth complications, he grew up to be a very tall, 6'4", but rather slim Hasidic man as well. He wanted to go to medical school, but his father said no way. So he wanted to be a rabbi as well, and then he later on became a rabbi, and he kind of skipped medical school, of course, to the elation of his parents. So, and then Levi, of course. Well, we know a lot, but yet we don't know a lot about him. Really, he of course is the family troublemaker. Really, he's the hellraiser and troublemaker of the family. He's just starting out at age 15, 16, and then really, once 17 came around, he really became the family hellraiser and troublemaker. So, and then after that, it was David. He's the most balanced of the boys, is how it was described to me. And for David, he's about 6'2", and he's got brown hair, blue eyes like his father, and actually kind of built. Actually, a lot of the boys are built, actually, and so. And Solomon, he's about 6 foot or so. He's got chestnut blonde hair, not quite blonde, but chestnut blonde, and he's got blue eyes too, just like his father. And Leah has the same eyes too as well. And then it's Leah too. And so Leah's the seventh child and third daughter, and she is basically more or less the golden girl, really, after Abigail. She does take a lot after her as well, and she always got top marks in school, and she always wanted to be a Jewish mother. And then, of course, she marries, of course, marries her husband Michael, and they go on to have 16 children.
Oh,
God
wow.
bless her. To Levi, of course, has 13. Shimon has 10. Abigail has 8. And then Miriam has 7, so David has 6, and Solomon has like 5 or 6. So they have huge families, all of them. So, and then there's Issachar, absent Izzy, as he's nicknamed by the family. The reason he's absent is because, well, of course, the father wasn't there. So, and Issachar is the only one that looks the most like his father.
Really?
So, yeah, actually, of all the 11, so he's the one that looks the most like his father. And of course, because of that, they've sort of name him after him, but they do kind of like a spin, which is Issachar, which is very, very similar to Israel, but it's not. But it's just slightly different. But they do call him Izzy, though. They nickname him Izzy, absent.
Yeah, I heard Moira refer to her husband as Izzy at times.
They both have the same nickname, yes. So, and then after that comes Rachel. She's the fourth daughter and 9th child. And she is a lot like Levi, actually a lot. She, from an early age, she did not want to really, she didn't follow the family line very, very much. So it's from a young age, too, from a young age. She wouldn't do her chores. She skipped her chores. She would do an awful lot. Of course, her older sister, Leah, would try to get her out of trouble in school, or at least apologize for what would happen. She was a little bit of a mini Levi, a little bit.
Oh, gosh.
And then the last 2 boys are Naphtali and Benjamin. They look just like their mother, really. They have, dark brown hair. They have brown eyes. And Naphtali, he's a kind of skinny a little bit, but he's fit, like sort of a fit slim. And Benjamin, he's a little bit stouter, just a little stouter. He's about 5'10". So, and both those two, they follow their older sister Rachel a lot. Meaning, like they're kind of like their own clique within the family.
Oh yeah.
So, and everyone has their cliques. So basically, so it's like Abigail and Miriam are one, David and Solomon are one. but two, and then it's Rachel. I mean, sorry, it's Leah and Solomon. Those two are very, very close. So she kind of joins David and Solomon a little bit. And it's Leah, Naphtali, and Benjamin a bit. Issachar always wants to follow Levi, but Levi just doesn't want anything to do with them, really, or at least not much. So, and so it's the family. This family that's in the story. It's very unique, but yet very typical too. So, and then plus I told you this as well. My grandfather, he was the oldest of 11, so the 11 children kind of comes from that a little bit. So, but then again, the children, they are all so different from each other. They're not mini-me's to the parents. They're not carbon copies. They may look similar. They may have very similar physical characteristics, but in terms of personality, they're all widely different from each other. So,
well, there was only 4 of us in my family, but the others are all totally different from me anyways. You know, we all come in here with our own karma, I guess. Well, thank you again so much for being on Fresh Perspectives today. And I will see those of you in the viewing audience when I do the next episode.